Hi, this is Eric from longboxreview.com. Welcome to the show. Today I'm going to be talking about, returning to the DC's New Heroes, New Age of Heroes. That's what they're calling it. DC's New Age of Heroes. I'm going to be talking about the first issue of The Immortal Men. The Immortal Men, created by James Tynion the fourth, or is it Tynion? I always forget. And Jim Lee. It's by Jim Lee, Ryan Benjamin, James Tynion the fourth, listed as storytellers, Scott Williams and Richard Friend as inkers, Jeremiah Skipper and Alex Sinclair do the colors, Carlos M. Mangual is the letterer, and Jessica Chen, Katie Kubert, and Jamie S. Rich are the editors on this book. So that's a lot of names for a book. I kind of understand with Jim Lee because he has that reputation where he doesn't get things done quickly, and so I think we're seeing a little bit of that here with inkers and colorists. I guess, I don't know, maybe I don't really know these things. I'm just guessing here. But anyway, there's a lot. There's the Immortal Men #1. There's a lot going on here, and not a lot going on here. So I'll get to that, I guess, as we go through this. But first, as I have been doing with these New Age of Heroes books, I am going to look or talk about the cover first. So these New Age of Heroes books have these fold-out trifold covers, and so. The middle, the main part of the cover, the middle part of the cover has your main characters here. And that's kind of what drew me. Well, there's two things that drew me to this book, which is why I wanted to pick it up. One is the whole idea of, the immortal man who has a role in this. And just the immortal man was a character that I think I was first introduced to in Crisis on Infinite Earths. I think his appearance in that book was the first time that I recollect finding out about this character. And he died in the Crisis, or at least he appeared to have died. And but it was such an interesting character. I mean, it was only in like a panel, maybe two. I don't remember now, but he made an impression, and I wanted to find out more about this character. And so over the years, the DC has tried to reintroduce this character, and I've gotten some comics with him featured in it. I think the last one that I can recall was Resurrection Man when the New 52 launched, and I got that. But it's really his counterpart, Vandal Savage, that has, I guess, I don't know if I don't know the history of this character. I don't know if he and Vandal Savage were always tied together, but they certainly have done so over the years, where they've basically tied these two characters together. And I believe that is what they're going to be doing here. It's hard to say because of something that I see on the cover here. But anyway, maybe I'm just hoping that they will eventually do this. But anyway, back to the cover. So, like I said, the whole idea of the immortal man is what drew me to this. And then the image of the cover, they've got the four main characters on the cover here, including this hatted green colored glowing character that we come to know as Ghost Fist. And so it was that image primarily that drew me into this. And then there's this other character. What is her name? Timber, we find out. She is the axe-wielding character next to Ghost Fist. And then we got two other characters on here who are Stray and Reload. So those are your immortal men. and there's a pyramid behind them. And then when you fold out the top and bottom parts of the cover, you've got more characters. You've got on the top cover, you've got whom I believe is the other main character of the story, whom we see first. Yes, we see Caden Park. I presume that's supposed to be him. He's got one of those bottom half of his head is masked, which I always thought was kind of. I mean, it's an interesting look, but it just doesn't really. I don't know. I don't think it really works in terms of a superheroic character. But he's got a black suit and tie with this tan overcoat with like I said this bottom half mask, which is in red, which is kind of it's weird, but it's visually interesting. It's visually striking. It's different for sure. Anyway, I like I say, I presume that's Caden Park, and then there's a bunch of there's like 5 characters above him, just heads. One of whom is Hawkman, which, because this is the Immortal Men comic, we have a bunch of immortals. I presume on the left is the Immortal Man. I'm not sure who the hooded character at the top left. Maybe Barbados from the Dark Metal. There's a character in the middle here who I don't know who that is at all. And then the final character in the top right, I presume that's supposed to be Ra's al Ghul. I don't know. He kind of looks like Ra's. The problem here is that 3 of these characters kind of look all the same, just with different hairdos. But the way that Jim Lee draws them, their eyes pretty much look the same. Their faces have similar structures. That's one of my big complaints about this book, is that the way that Jim Lee is drawing it. So yeah. Anyway, the bottom part of this cover is different from the other two in that there's a lot of red tones, red and some yellows in here. I presume I know these are the bad guys. The reason I say presume because there's one character in here that I don't think we even see in this story. One we do. He's called the Hunt, and then there's this bird-like, dragon-like creature, looking down. I don't know. It's the construction of this trifold cover just really confuses me. I'm not quite sure what they're going for here. But like I said, there's the Hunt, and then there's this, like I said, this woman down below that doesn't appear in the story, I don't think, but she's got a gold arm. They're holding these glowing spears, looking upwards at our heroic characters, I believe. But yeah, it's a weird cover. But it does make me think, well, so what are these guys doing? Why do they have these light spears that we don't even see in the issue itself? What I really like about it, though, is that the coloring of this is, if you think of it this way, if you look at the middle part, these are the characters on Earth, and you got these greens and browns, like planet Earth. And then as you go on the top part of this trifold, it transitions from those colors to, aside from Caden Park here, to some cool tones, blues and blacks, kind of like the coldness of the heavens. Whereas below, it's very red, very evocative of perhaps hell. So you got heaven and hell, and in between is earth. And so I kind of think that's the theme that they're going for here. But I like it. I like that particular. I like how the colors contribute that idea, at least. Okay, so like I said, we've got. Well, I'll just get into the story. Actually, Oh, I did forget, at the very bottom of that bottom part of the cover, there are these creatures, for lack of a better word, and we find out that those are what's referred to as the bloodless in the story. All right, and there's a few other characters that come into the story. Well, I'll talk about them when we get there. But the story opens with this kind of long-winded narration. It's kind of like it's not kind of, it's third-person narration. It's the omniscient narrator of a story telling us what's going on and who it is, and which, I get why they would want to do that. It makes a certain amount of sense because these are new characters, new situation, new story. So, and they really want to get you right into it. So what better means of doing that? I guess you just have this narrator, this unknown narrator telling us these things. And basically what we find out is that this is a dream that Caden Park has. He's in a place, people are being hunted, and then he's basically saved by the character that we find out is Ghost Fist, who takes him to this place. And there's a 2-page spread here early on in the book. It's called The Campus. And we see some of the other characters that we saw on the cover in the background. And there's this pyramid. It's underground, though. And then Caden sees this older man watching him. And it says here, the man's eyes tell him so. Eyes so powerful and piercing, they have seen so much over so long a time, Caden can scarcely comprehend it. The eyes beckon him to go deeper. They speak of a mission, a purpose, and something terrible on the horizon. So, Caden Park is a young man of destiny, and at least he believes so. And so we transition from that dream scene to finding out that Caden Park is having these dreams now as he's just kind of walking around. And so his friends are there, very concerned about him. And Caden sees the same older man from his dream walk by in the crowd. So, is it a dream? Is he crazy? Or is something fantastic about to happen to him? Of course, we all know already something fantastic is about to happen to him. But because of these dreams, because of the situation, Caden's parents, Mom and Dad Park, I don't believe we ever are given their names in this. I read it a couple times and I don't recall that. But anyway, they have him in therapy. And so there's a scene here with Caden's therapist, and she says here, "Look, Caden, I remember when these dreams started, when you were in middle school and you saw Superman for the first time on a trip to Metropolis. The dreams were always just a safe place you built for yourself because you wanted to be a part of that world. Now you're trying to make an overactive imagination sound like a superpower." And so then she challenges Caden to demonstrate his abilities, and says that, or beckons him to take her hand, because she says, "I think it's important for you to distinguish the fantasy from the real world around you. I know it's hard to admit that you're just another normal kid, living a normal life in a world that feels anything but normal. Still, there's power to be found in that kind of grounding. And so what do you see?" And so we see that he sees this vision of her in her apartment, I presume. She's got this thing on the table. I don't know exactly what that is. I'm not going to hazard a guess. At least here, I have an idea. But anyway, he says nothing at all for some reason. But what she brought up, what his therapist brought up, I thought was a really cool idea. So how do people who live in the DC universe not feel like she's suggesting Caden feels, inferior in some way, or being denied entry into this fantastical world, i.e. being one of those super beings. It's just, I just found that idea really fascinating. Unfortunately, there aren't that many interesting ideas in this book. Anyway, so turns out Caden has obviously this psychic ability to touch someone and see glimpses into their private lives. Kind of reminded me of the Bruce Willis character in Unbreakable, as we saw towards the end of that movie. Back to that scene though with the therapist, I got the feeling that what he sees of his therapist, it's Dr. Calendar, which, names mean things. So Dr. Calendar, what does that mean exactly? But anyway, I get the feeling that what he sees, he feels is embarrassing for him to say. So he lies, but it's not quite, I don't understand. It's not clearly conveyed here, either through the words of the characters or by the drawing itself. Anyway, so mom and dad are out there waiting for him. I really like these parents, his parents, I should say, especially the mom. They're just very concerned about him and his health and well-being. They are a family of means, not just because Caden's parents can afford a therapist for him, but also because they have a driver. And let's see here. Oh, the driver's name is Carver. Then we get a change of scenery, and this is where we are actually introduced to this character, the Hunt. And he is it tells us here, the campus, which was established in 1732. It's the domain of action, the fifth house of the Immortals. It says 1 mile beneath Philadelphia. So, and we see in the background the destroyed remains of the pyramid that we saw on page 2 and 3 in Caden's dream. The Hunt comes across this character who's dying, who says, "The immortal man told me I would live forever, told me I would save the world." And then the Hunt finishes the job, kills this character who was, we find out in the omniscient narrator's dialogue, was called Windstrider. Interesting that they would name the character who only appears really only in 2 panels. Anyway, when Hunt kills him, he says he lied. It says here the Hunt knows all this stuff about Windstrider, the fact that he was 361 years old. He had the ability to command the air and clouds to do his bidding. See, again, a lot of detail about a character who is dead now, and we barely even got to know. Anyway, the Hunt knows all this, and for a moment, this perfect killer takes a pause to mourn his cousin of sorts, a being like himself chosen to fight an eternal battle to save the world. But the moment passes. And then his, I guess, boss shows up. This is the Infinite Woman, not the Immortal Woman, the Infinite Woman, whom we are told is the oldest living human, founder of Conquest, the first house of the Immortals. And so she refers to her brother, who is the immortal man, how her brother brought all of this destruction and death upon himself. He tried to build an army. He wanted to start a war to stop our house from taking its rightful place in the world. In doing so, he forgot a simple fact. I invented war. So she's a badass. And then who shows up? But it's the Batman who laughs himself, who I'm not quite sure why he's here. He states he wants to push things along, but then after he shows up for a page, essentially, he's gone for the rest of the story. So I guess it's to remind us that this is a tie-in to Dark Metal, and this is probably one of the more direct tie-ins that I've read of the New Age of Heroes books that I have. So I mean, it's okay. There's nothing wrong with it. Just like, where are we going with this? What's going on here? Why is he here? Why is he just showing up for a minute and then not for the rest of the story? I realize that, they're building this world, they're building up this situation with the characters and stuff. So I'm sure the Batman Who Laughs will be back, which I think is unfortunate. I don't know that we need that, but anyway, we'll see how it goes. And then we go to see, there's so much here. We have another scene shift. It says 97 miles away. I mean, very particular detail there. I'm not sure why we need to know that it's almost 100 miles away. In a different secret cavern, we come across these guys. They look like repairmen who encounter who turns out to be Ghost Fist. Only he's not in his I'll just say his energy form. Or ghost form, maybe that's probably a better way to put it. But then he transforms into his ghost form and then zaps them away. But if they are here in this cavern, which is a secret cavern, how can it be a secret cavern if these repairmen are down here? Are they part of the conspiracy? It doesn't appear to be that, but I don't know. And what we get for the next few pages, at least, is this is where the remains of the campus, the people from the campus, and the characters that we see on the front cover. So this is Ghost Fist, Stray, Reload, and Timber, and so they have this conversation. They're fighting the Bloodlust, the Bloodless, not Bloodlust, Bloodless. Who followed them when they teleported away from the campus, apparently. They're arguing because some of them felt like they should not have left the fight, but Reload, who appears to be the leader of this group, he tells Timber, who has attacked him in anger because of how they left things at the campus. He says, "We were losing. Immortal Man gave me orders who I should get together if things went south. I followed them to the letter. Remember who we are, why we made this devil's bargain. None of us matter in the face of forever. What matters is the dream." And so he talks about this, going to New York, where the kid is, Caden, and Reload tells them the kid's name is Caden, and the boss says he's going to save the world. A la Heroes, I guess, right? Save the kid, save the world. Doesn't have quite the ring as save the cheerleader, save the world. But anyway, interesting here. Again, I have some troubles with the drawings. The art, I should say, not drawings. Because Timber appears to be different sizes in different panels, which made me think, is she like Colossal Boy? And she can grow her size. And if so, does the axe? Because it appears to. It's just really confusing. And let's see. The other observation I wanted to make is that Stray, she looks like I believe it's a she. She looks like this rat-like creature and reminds me a lot of the rats in the comic Bone by Jeff Smith. They have a very similar look to me. And then finally, the way Reload talks reminded me of a bit like a mix between Ben Grimm and Wolverine. So there's your Marvel Comics connection there. As I've been, the other New Age of Heroes books, they seem very derivative of some Marvel comics or Marvel characters, at least. But this book is definitely steeped in DC lore. And, well, I shouldn't say that. This whole House of Action, the campus, these characters, not really DC lore, but, you have the Immortal Man. And I mentioned Hawkman, and I'm sure Ra's al Ghul will show up or be referenced or whatever. But anyway, it's very much more of a DC-centric story than not necessarily paying homage to a particular Marvel comic, at least that I'm aware of. we have another scene shift after we talk, where we see the Immortal Men characters. Caden's on the subway. He sees the Immortal Man again and starts to follow him down, and then gets into a different car than what he was in, and the Bloodless show up, and we see also the Infinite Woman, who's outside of the car talking to him, basically saying, you got to die. And then the Immortal Men show up to save the day. And what happens then? Oh, then we get to the very end of it, and Reload is there saying, "We're the Immortal Men. Now get up and fight." So, oh yeah, and here's Timber, and she's clearly larger than by double at least than Reload. But see, this, I wasn't sure, because the perspective on this page is weird, because Stray is in the front and would appear larger, but doesn't appear to be too far away from Reload and Timber. So it's weird. The perspective's weird here. I mean, the colors are nice. It's just the art. It's, the way that Jim Lee and the others have done the art is just, I don't know, not the best work, in my opinion. Now, I will tell you, I already have read issue 2. It turns out Timber actually does, she does, change size. So there you go. But I still have the same complaint about art. Okay. So the Immortal Men, like I said, I was drawn to it because of some of the ideas that it evoked. But interesting, I guess, interesting idea, perhaps. Weak execution. I was really disappointed in this, because I thought this was going to be one of the stronger, it was one of the more interesting sounding books to me of the New Age of Heroes. I find the names of the Immortal Men kind of lame. Reload, Stray, Timber, I don't know. Ghost Fist is the only one that I find at all interesting, but it doesn't fit with these one-word names for all these characters. Hunter, even, I don't know. The characterization's not stellar so far, except for I really enjoyed the scene between Caden and his parents, especially the discussion between him and his mom. I can accept the secret societies in the DC universe, because superhero comics is full of secret societies. But this war between the houses is just so by the numbers. There's nothing in this first issue that made me think, oh, this is an interesting idea, or this is an interesting take on this kind of an idea. But yeah, this was really weak. I don't find anything interesting about what the artists are doing on the page or in the character designs. Like I said, except maybe Ghost Fist. In fact, I think maybe I just want to have a comic featuring Ghost Fist, perhaps. But I like how we have some people of color in this. But will this be explored in any significant way? I kind of think not, unfortunately. So, really, I see no lasting power in these characters or this concept. I really think this will be canceled very soon. But like I said, I'd like to see more of Ghost Fist. I wonder, why does DC keep coming back to the Immortal Man? Well, like I said, we've had Resurrection Man from the New 52. The Immortal Man has been, in various comics over the years. So it's interesting why they keep. Well, I mean, it's kind of obvious why they keep doing that. I think we as readers find stories about immortals interesting. Certainly, Hawkman's resurrections and his lives are interesting, especially since he is Hawkman in the current incarnation of his life. So I get that, but it's just like, why Immortal Man? Why not other immortal characters? I mean, they could have easily shoehorn in some of this stuff in a Hawkman comic and tied all this together. And so I am very curious to see if Hawkman does actually show up here. I mean, it's suggested by the cover, but it would be really cool to see how Hawkman relates to this whole concept. But yeah, other than these slivers of some interesting ideas and concepts, like I said, this is a very weak entry in this New Age of Heroes books. So, like I said, I've already read issue 2. I believe I'm getting issue 3. I don't believe I pre-ordered issue 4. So I already know now that I'm not going to continue with this book. But I would be interested to know if you disagree with me on this, my take on this particular book, and perhaps you find things in here that are particularly interesting and engaging, and will keep you on it for the foreseeable future. So I'd be really curious to find out what those things are, and you can let me know by emailing me at longboxreview@gmail.com. Or you can leave comments at the blog longboxreview.com, or you can just let me know on Twitter at longboxreview. So despite my misgivings, despite my perhaps negative critique of this book, I'm very curious as to what you think of this book and why, if you do like it. So, let me know. Hit me up. I'd like to hear these thoughts. Okay, that's it. That's my look at Immortal Men #1 from the New Age of Heroes line of books. Thanks for listening, and I will talk to you later. Bye-bye.